Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 57 of the Wise Guy Sports Show here on our YouTube channel. I am one of your hosts. I am the Big Rican on Sports, Mike Martinez. And as always, with me, as I bring him in, is my co host with the most, the man behind the scenes and behind the curtain, wherever it may be, Mr. JC Blue Note, Jim Cornetti, and James. Episode 57, which is kind of funny with what next week is.
Yeah, it's we could not have timed that any better, and we'll talk about that in the second half of the show tonight.
Yes, we will. We got a bunch to get to, and what we like to call the Wise Guys hat trick tonight. First things first. How's things in Cleveland today?
There, it was 41 degrees without a cloud in the sky. I actually was able to get a decent workout in without running the risk of walking the 500 feet from the fitness center back to my building and catching hypothermia. So you got that going for you.
As always, a wonderful thing. Absolutely. Hypothermia being borderline god awful.
Especially with yesterday being Groundhog Day. So you got that going for you.
It's always good. What is it? Always a good time for flapjacks?
I forgot to cut those. Damn it. I knew I was.
Well, that's because we didn't do the show on the 2nd. Because we had toyed with moving it to Friday just so we could have those on the soundboard.
Yeah, it's I'm so far behind with some things. I haven't written a sports note in almost 2 weeks. I'm almost doing it like every other week anymore, which I kind of want to get out of. And it's and I still haven't cut the translator from 2 weeks ago.
Well, listen, all the work you did in the Wisies, again, as I said at the end of the episode, a phenomenal job. All the work you did in the Wisies, you can take some time off from cutting translators, dude. You are fine. Although I got one for you tonight.
Oh, God, I still
I'm
need to come up with one myself.
I'm excited. I have both of them all set up. This is not going to be off the top of the head. I have actually, and I'm going to tell a quick story before we get into the first topic. So Jim and I were talking the other day. And of course, it comes out that Caleb Williams says he may not want to go to the Bears. And I called him and I was like, when I hear Caleb Williams, I think Bo Callahan. Well, this idiot calls me back and he goes, "No, that's not true. I went to his birthday party." I'm like, dude, we left that off the translator. Oh my God. So anyways, we got a lot to get to tonight. And where are we going to start? Are we going to start with the events of last weekend, or are we going to start with the stupidity that is certain members of the upper class?
Let's start with last weekend, because it's going to set the tone for next week's show. And as you can see there, Super Bowl 58 is set. And yeah, we don't have to talk about it in the final segment. As you can see, Super Bowl 58 is next week. Episode 58 of our show is next week. We could not have planned this any better.
We really couldn't have. I think that was phenomenal planning on our part. You know, our forced hiatuses, and I don't feel like doing shit today type weeks that we just kind of had and ended up over there. But Super Bowl 58 is set, as James said, as the Chiefs beat the Ravens in Baltimore. Listen, I want to start with that game because I was impressed with what Kansas City did and what Kansas City didn't do. And if anyone wasn't paying attention, the Kansas City Chiefs didn't score in the second half. How many times have we ever seen that from that team?
Scored on their first 2 possessions. Looks like they could do just about whatever they want. And quite honestly, Baltimore was going to make a run, but again, did exactly what they wanted to.
Agreed. And I will say this, and I want to know how Todd Monken still has a job. How do you drop him back 38 times in a 1-score game?
Yeah.
That's almost as bad as Stefanski with Baker a few years ago. I mean, guy's going to bust a shoulder and you throw the ball 35 times a game. You got the best running back taking snaps and you're throwing a ball 38 times. And it's not like you're down 3 touchdowns. Is Kansas City's defense that good that people think they have to throw the ball 100 times against them?
Apparently so, with the way that they've kind of flipped the switch and locked down in the playoffs, unless we're talking about the Buffalo game, and it wasn't about their defense being that good. It was Josh Allen going Josh Allen. We talked about that last week.
We did. We did. Could Travis Kelce had a better game?
He broke Jerry Rice's record.
He was targeted 11 times. He made 11 catches.
Yeah. 11 catches for, I have it here, 11 catches for 116 yards and a touchdown, and broke Jerry Rice's career record of most postseason receptions in the process. And he still got, if he wants to, he still has 3 or 4 more years left in him. And
as we wait with bated breath for his brother's decision.
Yeah, and newsflash, he ain't going anywhere, and the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs anytime that they want to, barring a massive injury to the guy under center.
Oh, agreed. And he put on a clinic because he did everything you needed to do. Dare I say he managed the game perfectly in the second half, where they didn't score any points, but they also played keep away from really a talented offense that just did not show up. For lack of a better term, Lamar'd in the second half.
That's what a lot of people from Stephen A. to Coward to all the major talking heads were saying is Lamar choked this game away, which he typically does. An interception into triple coverage late in the game to cost them the game. I like, is this Lamar Jackson or Deshaun Kaiser at that point?
Oh my God. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
I don't even think Favre would make that kind of throw.
No, Favre would definitely make that kind of throw.
Difference is Favre's a little bit more accurate and would have been able to thread that needle a little bit more.
Agreed. Johnny Football may not make that throw.
Don't say the internal thing outside here. Johnny actually would have made that throw because he would have thought that there were 3 defenders, but there was really only one, and read between the lines on that.
He's a raving drunk. You can just fucking say it. You drowned out my he's a raving drunk. Anyways. Hey, Kevin. Dude, do you know how many people I told about that last week? So congratulations to now. Listen, 4 Super Bowls in 6 seasons as a starter. Hello.
Conference championship game, all 6 seasons in the league, and going for 3 and 5 years. And there's already people saying that if he wins this thing, you could start putting him in the GOAT conversation.
Well, we're gonna talk about that next week because I have a real problem with where the GOAT conversation is in both the NFL and the NBA, as I've alluded to previously about the NBA. And again, it's the shaping of the debate that I don't like. But let's hop over to the other game, which was the better game of the day. And in heartbreaking fashion is the only thing I can say for the Detroit Lions fan base. The San Francisco 49ers stormed back from a 24-7 halftime deficit to win 34-31, powered by a 17-point third quarter, that put them back in the game. And let me say this right now. Brock Purdy's a better fucking player than people give him credit for. Dan Campbell had his issues, but Brock Purdy played a damn good game to get them to a Super Bowl.
And I'm going to touch on that here when I get the floor, but go ahead.
With what he did, and the 49er defense really just kind of clamping down in that second half. Can we stop calling him a game manager and stop disrespecting him the way they do? I mean, this is stupid.
He did. You take what the defense gives you, and it's not like Detroit went into, prevent defense where, we all know when you play prevent defense, what does it do? It prevents you from winning.
But
it was, they're just that loaded. You can call him game manager if you wanted to, because he didn't really do anything to jump off the page. I think it was more so Detroit just looking to stop the bleeding and just didn't know how at this
Oh
point.
yeah, it was death by a thousand cuts. Agreed. Montana was on McAfee recently, and he said something. He goes that genuinely reminded me what Purdy's doing. He goes, "Listen, my job wasn't to be the man. My job was to be the guy who dealt the cards." And when you have guys like, and he had John Taylor, Jerry Rice, Dwight Clark, Roger Craig, he had players. Who was the tight end?
Brent Jones.
Brent Jones. When you have guys like that, your job as a quarterback isn't to be what they consider elite. Your job is to do what you're supposed to do. And right now, I don't know other than Patrick Mahomes who's doing it better than Brock Purdy.
It was Jared Goff up until Dan Campbell got in the way.
Yeah, I want you to go in on that because Dan Campbell really did fuck them.
148 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half, stealing a little bit of the thunder from the rant that Stephen A. Smith went on. And then 8 carries and 34 yards in the second half. And they could do whatever they want. Again, 24-7 at the half. There was a point where the Niners cut it to 24-10 with 7:07 left to go in the third quarter. And then that little graphic or the little slider, the favorite to win slider on ESPN's Game Center said that the Lions were still an 86% favorite to win with 7:03 left in the third quarter when, again, the Niners cut that to a 2-score game. Dan Campbell goes for it on 4th and 2, and that was about the last time that Detroit was the percentage favorite, because then it was San Francisco the whole rest of the way out. And I got to say, if they're not 12-5, Dan Campbell is looking for a new job. I said it to you on text and on Facebook. I said it to you over the phone. I put it out on every major social media place, is that if I were the ownership group, I would have actually taken play calling duties away from him before he got on the plane.
I agree with you. I don't know if Dan Campbell's the offensive play caller. I think that's the guy who ended up staying, the offensive coordinator.
No, that's Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell is the offensive play caller.
He's the one. Well, he's the one that actually admitted that he made the 2 4th down calls. The 4th and 2, I understand.
That's always the head coach, though.
The 4th and 2 missed conversion. Run the goddamn ball. First off, instead of throwing a 5-yard out where the guy just flat out dropped it. But then the second one, 4th and 7, you don't
Kick the ball.
make that kind of throw. Yeah. Do what Stefanski used to do when he cost the Browns getting in the playoffs a couple of years ago. Put the damn points on the board.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Because then you're looking at 34-34 and going to overtime, and God knows in the playoffs anything can happen.
Exactly.
So we have it set up now. Chiefs 49ers, a rematch of the pre-COVID Super Bowl that all the memes started as soon as the San Francisco game was over. Stock up on your toilet paper and your paper towels, because guess what? Last time this happened. We'll go into really break down the game next week. Next Saturday night. Alex should be with us. So we'll have the Wisey triumvirate there, and we will get the 4 horsemen together. But somebody's working the Super Bowl and is going to be in Vegas. I mean, what the fuck, man? Right? I will say this, and I told Jim this off the air. He did say he would try and call in somehow next week to talk to us, but
we could put him on speakerphone if we have to.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to give him your number just because I got everybody sleeping upstairs. But no, in all seriousness, he was honestly going to try. And I told him, like, listen, dude, you don't know. You're going to be 3 hours behind us. You don't know what you're going to be doing at 6 o'clock. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll get you the week after, and we'll roast the shit out of you if you do something stupid. But
you don't roast the shit out of him anyway.
Well, yeah, I'm wearing the shirt. Dude,
Yeah, you can actually get away with it because it doesn't apply anymore.
It doesn't. Um, kind of like Urban Meyer has the 7-0 bar. Uh, don't be a dick. So, conference championship weekend. Listen, two good games. That's all you can ask is good games. I feel for Detroit though. I really do. Don't get me wrong. I could care less who's in this game because I don't have a horse in the race. But fuck Baltimore, and I feel really bad for Detroit. They were that close, and Campbell was right afterwards with what his mindset was in going for at least on the 4th and 2. You don't know if you're going to get back here. You got to take your shots while you got them. Danny, you kicked the ball there, buddy, and you could be in the Super Bowl. Who the hell knows?
Right. Because at that particular point, you kick the field goal. At that particular point, it would have been 27-21, make San Francisco go the length of the field, even though it's late in the third quarter at that point. It completely different dichotomy because San Francisco's got all the momentum at that point.
Yeah, and more points on the board, your sphincter gets a little tighter if you're the 49ers, and you could force a mistake. Sphincter. Speaking of that, have you seen the Paramount commercials yet?
Yes.
The Josh Allen one?
Where he threw it right on Beavis's nuts. Yeah, because I want to say that was like from last year.
Did you see the new one
I
with
did
Patrick
not.
Stewart?
I did not yet.
Dude, I will send that to you. I don't want you to watch it. I will send it to you. We're going to do it next week with Alex.
Okay.
Because I want to see the look on your face with what they do. Let me put it this way. Sir Patrick Stewart is making fun of Tua, which I just love. So that's it. James with the Coke Zero this evening. Are we needing the caffeine, sir?
Nah, it's just something sugar free and trying to rehydrate. And after already 2.5 bottles of vitamin water after getting back.
Celsius is already gone. Dude, Saturday nights are turning into a routine where I put Bobby to sleep and take a little nap before I come on. Is that Ross Geller telling us to move on? All right, so topic number 2 in the Wisey hat trick would be, look at that. I even wore the right shirt. The rolling Cleveland Cavaliers. 12 of their last 13 and 15-4 since Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. Right?
Yeah.
I get him and his brother mixed up. The guy who should be on the roster anyway. But since Darius Garland and Evan, was that the same game they got hurt?
I think it was within a couple of days of each other. I
Yeah,
know that
both guys.
I know they both got moved to the injured reserve at the same time.
Yeah, both guys get injured, and the Cavs go on a run. They are still on that run. They're a game back in the Central. And last night, Jared Allen gave me my favorite play of the year so far. Did you see that?
The block at the rim.
Oh my God!
Yes.
The throwing up and met homeboy at the top. I was like, "Are you serious right now?"
The most impressive thing is really how they've kind of rallied without those two guys in the lineup, and just how much production and how well they've stretched the bench to where they know these guys can come in and fill spots, and you don't have to run, Donovan and Darius out there 40 minutes a night.
No, Merrill's a fucking dog. I love him.
Strus
has played out of his mind. Niang's been really good.
Yes.
Donovan's been Donovan.
I'm not going to comment on the All-Star game thing because the All-Star games don't mean anything.
Yeah, the NBA All-Star game is a fucking joke.
It's all the All-Star games don't mean anything, and they're a joke. You don't actually quantify a player by his All-Star appearances because it's a popularity contest. You qualify them by their first, second, or third team All-Pros.
Yeah, no, and baseball, it's more about baseball. You can do the All Star thing because I think baseball fans will vote for players who should be in because they're playing well. Because I haven't had a real issue with with a lot of the players recently, at least recently, in the MLB All Star game. Plus, it's the only one they play an actual fucking game.
Yeah, we actually saw when the skills competition yesterday was more entertaining than the All-Star game tournament in the NHL today, you got a problem.
Dude, did you hear what Baker said?
Yes.
With Ryan Clark, that was hilarious. True and hilarious. But going back to the Cavs, something I noticed because like I mentioned before, I watch on YouTube every single morning, or there are some mornings I'm setting up stuff at the office and I have the Cavs thing on my phone and I'm watching it as I'm doing stuff. Um, this team's going to be a fucking problem come April because the one thing that you've been railing for at times, is now cannot happen, and that is Isaac Okoro has come into his own. He is still the best on-ball defender the team has, and he's starting to score points. So, yeah. I mean, you could put it the way he's seen from what I've seen in there. You literally could put him on the other team's best player as long as it's not a center, and he's going to fight, and he's going to scrap, and he's going to play good defense. I love that kid.
Because you've only got a couple of weeks until the trade deadline. I mean, you're going to get people that are going to want to, back up the truck going after Donovan, but it's like you're going to be in a position where you're not going to want to move him. You're going to probably end up getting people looking to see is Karras available. I could possibly see Karras becoming available with the way that some of the other guys have stepped up. But if I were them right now, I'd stand pat. But then again, let's give this a couple of more weeks. Let's see what happens with DG and Mobley coming completely back in, getting all their minutes back, and then just running out from there. As they've only been back a couple of days now.
Yeah, no, I think they have to let it play out until the trade deadline. But the one thing I would caution Cavs fans on is don't get on Tony Rizzo's show and start talking about making a move to make a move. They're literally playing like a well-oiled unit right now. And you want that more than you want anything else. This team is not built to plug and play a guy coming in from out of there. This team is built to play with it within itself. The only place I could see them doing anything, Jim, how about another big off the bench, especially with Tristan getting popped for the performance enhancers?
That I could actually see unless maybe you put Dean Wade possibly, in there, to spell somebody. Um, do you kind of go back to do you figure out a way to make the 2 7-footers on the floor a little bit more regular thing, or even, go really big, kind of like when you had the 4 7-footers on the floor when Laurie Markkinen was here.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm running out the starting lineup, I think the one they had opening night with Okoro, Mobley, and the Fro on the front line, and Darius and Donovan in the backcourt, that's your best option, in my opinion.
And then from there you've got Merrill, Niang, you've got
Struce.
Struess. You've got 3 or 4 guys that you can rotate in at the 2 and the 3 with that. So you're putting 2 out there, but you've got diversity to open up to about 5.
Yeah, exactly. And you have guys that not only can run in the 2 and the 3, but you can space the floor at the 4 and the 5. This is a very, very good roster.
They just need the Knicks to lose at this point because I mean they're right now they're in the 4 spot and would host a game, but you'd like to be into that 3. And again, the only game that you've lost in the last 13 has been you know the first Milwaukee game, and then you went back out and basically beat them on their own floor 2 nights later to snap the 8-game win streak. So you can beat Milwaukee, and they had Dame and Giannis both out there for that one. They were both out there for the next one. And you still beat them. the next night, so you can go toe to toe with a lot of these teams.
Yeah, you can. And just real quick, while we're talking about it, the Cavs are up 22 at the half in San Antonio, and the Knicks are down 5.
I should hope so, because if the Cavs lose to San Antonio, they're actually going to get demoted to the G League.
No, I agree. And listen, San Antonio's got real problems. These guys are not letting Wembanyama cook, and that's a problem. That's a huge problem, in my opinion. But we'll talk more full NBA at a different time. But yeah, so far the Cavaliers, man, holy cow. I have not been this impressed with the Cavs team in a lot of years. And that includes last year.
Their defensive numbers, they're not jumping off the page. I mean, I want to say they're like third in opponents' points per game. They're like they're 0.6 of a point behind the Knicks, and then Minnesota is a full 2 points ahead of them right now at 107. Their scoring differential is only a plus 4.5, but again, won 4 in a row, 9-1 in their last 10. They're the hottest team in basketball right now with the Knicks, who have won 9 in a row. The Knicks are also 9-1 in their last 10. Cavs win tonight and the Knicks lose. They vault the Knicks to go to the 3 spot. And Milwaukee's down 17 in the second right now. So you could actually be in a mathematic tie for first place by the time we potentially go off the air tonight.
So really what you're looking at here is right now the top 8 in the Eastern Conference. Boston has the 1, Milwaukee the 2, the Knicks the 3, Cleveland the 4, Philly the 5, Indy the 6. 7 and 8 are Miami and Orlando, and 9 and 10, and 9 just took a big hit today.
Yeah,
with Zach LaVine being done for the year.
Yep.
So you're probably going to see Brooklyn sneak up into that 10, and Atlanta go to the 9.
Because there's still 3 games between. I mean, you look at it right now, the Nets are a game out of that 10 spot, and then there's 3 games separation with Toronto,
Yeah.
back there, and making up 3 games at this point in the season. Every game's going to count a little bit more.
No, agreed. And what you're looking at here, though, is if the Cavs they have a theoretical shot. They have, never mind theoretical. They have a legitimate shot at ending up as the 2 seed. I don't think anybody's catching Boston.
No, I was just going to say that, because it's with the parity that you got in the West right now, 1 through 4, 1 being Oklahoma City and 4 being the defending champion Nuggets, is a half game right now. Boston's already got a 4.5 game lead over the 12 out of 13 win Cavaliers, over the 9 straight Knicks, and over a 2-year removed from a title Milwaukee team.
This is the what the Celtics are doing is insane.
And then you've also got Philly, a game behind that, who's got the reigning league MVP. And Indiana, even though they've lost 3 in a row, has already got themselves out of the playoff tournament. We called it at the outset of the year that Indiana is going to be a playoff team, especially now that Tyrese Halliburton is back off of injury.
Exactly. But the thing is, Philly also took a hit with Embiid's knee. So where's Philly land in all this? Depends on how long he's out. So theoretically, we could be talking when we get to April, May, and June about the Cavs having the 2 seed in the playoffs, which means they would pull who? They would pull the second lowest, so they'd get
they would actually pull the winner of like the 8-9 game out of the play-in. So you'd have 7 and 8, and then 9 and 10. So the winner of the 7 and 8 is automatically in, and then the winner of the 9-10 would play the loser of the 7-8 game, and the Cavs would end up getting that one.
Okay. So basically, they'd end up probably playing like Brooklyn, or was it either Brooklyn, Indiana, Brooklyn.
Well, let's
Miami,
play a little
Orlando.
devil's advocate here. If the playoffs were to start today, let's actually say the Cavs move up to the 2, and overtake Milwaukee. The Knicks still sit there at 3rd. So let's do this. So the Cavs would be at the 2. Miami, Orlando would be the 7-8. Chicago, Atlanta would be the 9-10. Who are you going with each of those two?
Atlanta beats Chicago, and I'll go chalk. I'll go Miami.
I like Orlando in that one for some reason. Orlando's impressing me, and I think Miami's not as good as people think that they are. But uh, we can both agree with Atlanta. So Atlanta would move on, and then Miami would move on. So Miami would automatically be the 7. Actually, so what that would be is that the Cavs would play that one, and then
Cavs get Miami.
yeah, the Cavs would get Miami, and then it would be the loser of that Miami Orlando game. So you're looking at Orlando and Atlanta, and then the winner of that game would get Boston.
So then Orlando gets Boston.
Right.
So you're looking at Boston, Orlando, Cleveland, Miami, the Knicks and Pacers. Wow, that's Milwaukee and Philly.
Yep.
What a lot of people thought the finals would be in the Eastern Conference. Holy cow. We need LeBron to beat the Knicks tonight.
We do, but this is actually, I think this is where the NBA gets things right with this play-in tournament because you're kind of getting back to the teams finishing way under 500 with the possibility of getting in. Chicago 3 games under 500, Atlanta 6 games under 500, and they're sitting in playoff spots right now. You go out to the West, Utah's in the 10. They're 2 games under 500. Everybody else is from 9 to 1 is 500 or above.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, the Knicks came back to tie it. It's 59 even at the half at the Garden.
And Brooklyn whooped up on Philly tonight, or this afternoon, I should say.
Well, never mind that. Did you see what the Lakers did to Boston without LeBron and AD?
Yep.
Who the hell does Austin Reeves think he is? Come on.
Better than LeBron and AD.
Well, younger anyway.
Boston and the Lakers are missing their 2 best.
See, that's just it. Boston, as good as a start they got off to, is it me or are they not playing well right now?
That's what happens when you throw $300 million as a guy who's not even the best point guard in his own division.
Yeah. That'll happen. But look at the bright side. They could still have Kyrie.
Kyrie right now would be in the play-in tournament.
How that team with Kyrie and Luka is not in the top 5, I don't know.
Well, they're only a game and a half out of being out of that play-in tournament, and they're only 2.5 back of being in the top 5 anyway.
Okay, so they got time.
I mean, look at all the strength in the West right now. You got the Thunder and T-Wolves tied, with the mathematically tied with the best record in the conference, 19 games over 500. The Clippers turn things around. They're a game out. The Nuggets 34-16. The Kings are 28-19. The Suns are 28-21, mathematically tied, but on the tiebreaker against the Pelicans. So your top 7 are all 7 games above 500 or better right now.
Where's Fake Bobby and the DeBarge twins?
12th. They're a game and a half out of the play-in tournament right now.
By the way, you said that to me the other day, and I started laughing, and then I had to call HR about something, and I was on hold, and Rhythm of the Night came on.
You're welcome.
Oh, Bobby's sitting on my lap, and I started laughing. Steph goes, "What's funny?" I said, "Klay Thompson and Steph Curry are doing the song on the hold line right now on the phone." She goes, "What?" I said, "Don't worry about it. Before your time." Well, we got to get to the worst part of the hat trick tonight, and that is the scumbaggery. The scumbaggery.
We're going to give a few extra minutes to this one tonight.
This one needs a few.
We're going to do 20 minutes on this one tonight because I think it kind of warrants it with all the information that's come out, especially on the first guy on that list that I'm very familiar with, right now with everything that I've kept up with.
Well, if I could say, him trying to be Harvey Weinstein isn't something fucking new. What did they used to call him? The genetic jackhammer? What the fuck?
I'm going to talk all about that one. Let me talk about that second one there, and that's 5 current NHL players, all age 25, from a uh, World Junior Tournament and under 18 tournament back in 2018. 5 different players, 4 of which currently in the NHL. A fifth one used to be in the NHL system, all accused of sexual assault of a minor during the middle of that tournament. And the 5 players involved are current New Jersey Devil forwards Michael McLeod and defenseman Cal Foote, Calgary forward Dylan Dubé, former Ottawa forward Alex Fermenton, who's currently playing in the National League, which is the top tier professional league in Switzerland. But the big name is Philadelphia Flyers #1 starting goaltender Carter Hart.
Jesus.
All 5, 4 of the 5 that are in North America have all surrendered to the London, Ontario Police Department after warrants were sworn out for them. They've all been removed currently from the NHL roster, suspended indefinitely with pay, barring more information coming out with this. Gary Bettman, NHL commissioner, said that these gentlemen will be paid as long as further information does not really expand from that to where it warrants, suspension without pay or contract termination. The NHL Players Association has already kind of stepped aside and said, we're going to let this play out, in the legal system for now.
Kind of have to do that. As far as the suspension with pay, you kind of have to do that because you're not getting them out of there because they did anything that's been proven, but you also don't need the distraction. Especially in the NHL, which is still trying to grasp at straws to be a popular sport in the country.
Even with the announcement earlier today that they will be sending NHL players back to the Olympics in 2026 and 2030.
Yeah, but it's 2026 and 2030. I mean, are we talking we're going to see Bedard will be able to play? So, yeah, I guess it's not too bad. But, yeah, no, the way you have to do this, unfortunately, and they should all burn in hell if they did it. I just can't even, dude. I can't. It bothers the shit out of me. It really does.
And the thing right now with the Flyers is why this hurts so much is the Flyers are in a playoff position right now. Carter Hart leads the team with a 12-9-3 record. The guy who replaced him has also got a 12-9-3 record. Carter Hart's save percentage is almost 35 points higher right now.
Wow. Look, man, it's a different world than what people think it is. You got, unfortunately, a lot of the athletes still think they're entitled to do whatever the hell they want.
Right.
I just can't fucking do it, dude.
This is not going to come off very well. The fact that they did this at an under 18 tournament as opposed to now where they're all 25 doing this to somebody underage. There was only maybe a year or two gap in there. Yes, it's terrible, but realistically, it could have been a lot worse.
It could have been, and what you're saying isn't that it's coming. It's not that it's coming off terrible, but it's also true. This could have been something that happened this past off season.
It's disgusting, but it's not Wander Franco levels of disgusting or the other guy that's on this list that we're going to talk about here in a minute.
Yeah, that's a son of a bitch. So stay tuned for that. And the unfortunate thing is we have to stay tuned for stuff like this, and we have to talk about it if we want to, actually touch the topics that mean something and not just regurgitate what everybody else is talking about.
But
Jim, when I said we'd do more hockey, I didn't think we'd get here.
No, I was thinking that If we were going to talk hockey, we could have actually talked, the thought of the NHL possibly expanding to Atlanta for a third time, according to earlier reports this week, that they're trying to build a new arena down there. Um, they're Gary Bettman is now open to the possibility of, and the NHLPA said that they will not stand in the way if the Coyotes needed to move immediately, because you cannot put them in a college arena for a third straight year, especially with the fact that they're potentially in a playoff position. They're costing the league money with the revenue sharing. And even if they were to get something approved by the ownership to build a new arena in Mesa, Arizona, you're still, excuse me, you're still looking at 3 years to find a temporary new home until that place gets built.
Yeah, I think the Coyotes are going to end up in Atlanta if they decide to do anything
I
in the very near future.
I would actually think, if anything, the most logical solution for them would be to go to Salt Lake City, because of geographically it's closer. It's a little they're starving right now for a second pro sports team. They've already got an NHL slash NBA type arena ready to go.
True.
And we've seen, even from, Thrasher fan Jim, where these guys moved to in 12, 13 years ago at that particular point. Yes, they are, third in their division right now, and their goaltender is probably going to end up winning the Vezina trophy. That still hurts, though, when they moved, because I was a Thrasher fan from day one. And now there's actually talk that they could end up changing their look and going back to the old Jets look from when they were in Winnipeg the first time back in the 90s, which that would leave such a sour taste in my mouth, that it would be like the Browns moving and then keeping and then going back to the throwback jerseys afterwards when you bring the team back.
Yeah, that would have been bad. And you're doing the blur, so I'm glad you mentioned what was up there.
The blur. Who am I? Tom Welling? Is this Smallville?
Nice. What was his name in draft day? Brian Drew.
Brian Drew. You got Bo Callahan, and now you got Brian Drew.
All we need is a Vontae Mack and a and a Ray Jennings, and we're set.
A moment of silence for Vontae Mack.
A moment of silence for Vontae Mack.
Speaking of moment of silence,
next half, I got something for that. Well, I can't. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, we will talk about that, but moment of silence now, because now we got to go to the other guy.
This scumbag motherfucker.
According to reports, former World Wrestling Entertainment employee Janelle Grant has filed a lawsuit against former WWE chairman and CEO and I don't want to say founder, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, for sexual assault, which includes sex trafficking. Have you heard all of the details about this yet?
I have not. I know Brock was pulled from the Rumble because of this. So Lesnar's involved somehow.
I have the details.
Braun
I have
Breaker.
listened to multiple podcasts and read the majority of the 65-page lawsuit.
Have at it.
Remember when there was a story came out of Vince McMahon stepping down last year because there were hush money payments or NDAs signed with 4 different women? Yeah. Janelle Grant is patient 0.
Really?
According to reports, she signed an NDA where her parents had passed away. She was living in a high-rise complex in Stamford, Connecticut, where WWE's world headquarters are located. Vince McMahon lived on the penthouse in that complex as well, and was looking for a job after her parents had passed away. Vince gave her a job, and Janelle Grant was in her mid-20s at this point. Vince McMahon was in his early to mid-70s, and Janelle Grant was a relatively attractive woman. I would say, definitely attractive young lady. and was basically forced into um, sexual, I don't want to say assault, and I have to tread very lightly with this because some of this is not having all of the details uh, from every single side, but the other half of this is trying to recall the multiple podcasts I've listened to, namely the Jim Cornette podcast, where this broke live in the middle of them taping it last week. Um, there were rumors that he had locked her in an office and had multiple office personalities go into the office and sexually assault her while other people were working. She was paid with $15,000 on multiple occasions of Bloomingdale's gift cards for this. She was originally supposed to sign, she had signed a $3 million NDA, and McMahon reneged or stopped making payments after the first $1 million. And that's why she's come forward with this. There is also a report, and I'll get to where Lesnar's involved here in a second, that during a threesome, McMahon defecated on her. And also involved was former CEO of Talent Relations or president of Talent Relations, John Laurinaitis, who, and you know who John Laurinaitis is. That's Johnny Ace, the former Raw general manager, and the father-in-law of the Bella twins.
The brother of the animal and the uncle of James.
Lesnar's involvement is that McMahon had pictures of Grant on his phone and showed her to Lesnar while they were attempting to re-sign Lesnar, and under the condition that Lesnar, McMahon actually would have complete control over who and when had to got to take their turn with Miss Grant. And Lesnar was impressed when he saw the photographs.
Do we know if he took the bait?
I don't know, but I think that is a very, very distinct possibility why he got pulled from the Royal Rumble last Saturday when we were live on the air, because Braun Breaker, ironically enough, Rick Steiner's son, he was in the Rumble originally, but a lot of what Brock Lesnar's spots were supposed to be ended up going to Braun Breaker for that. And Brock Lesnar is no longer. Brock Lesnar was pulled from one of WWE's probably their most popular mobile game this week, in the last couple of days. If you had him before, he's not in the game anymore. It's WWE Supercard. They have no further plans with him, including going into WrestleMania. And boy, did they fuck that one up so McMahon leaves, and now Dwayne Johnson moves in. Not only does he actually jump onto the board of TKO Productions, which is now the ownership group of the UFC and WWE merging, but also now Dwayne Johnson has inserted himself into the WrestleMania main event against his cousin, Roman Reigns, which is now the most disliked video in the history of WWE on YouTube.
I think once he made, I think I watched the whole segment because I saw that, and I saw it. I was like, yeah, right. This is a fan thing. And I saw it was, I like the angle people have talked about that Cody's going to win the belt at the Elimination Chamber. Because Cody Rhodes, he is a phenomenal talent who took a long time to get to this level and had to leave and really put AEW on his back to get there. But he should have a run with the belt.
The only problem is that They're not going to have him lose. I mean, if you have him, if you have Roman lose the championship, and I can't believe we're talking wrestling storylines here, I can understand the more money in the short term being Dwayne, but for long term, it's going to be Cody because Cody's going to be able to stick around a little bit more. The problem is you shot yourself in the foot with that last year where he didn't where it was Roman was coming up on 1,000 days as champion, so now he's got his 1,000 days. Now he's at 1,255, and he's very very close to, like, I want to say April, like late April, early May, he would pass Hulk Hogan's record. So you can't take the title off of him, at SummerSlam. Are we looking at WrestleMania next year where he's now
I
holding the title for 4 straight years? And at that point, do you actually just keep it on him for another 5 years after that to break Bruno Sammartino's record?
No, I honestly think that Cody's going to win at the Elimination Chamber. I think it's going to be that bomb's going to be dropped next week. It may be the most disliked video, but it's the only way they could get away from this.
Unless they have Rock and Roman at like one of the Saudi Arabia shows, which would generate even more money than WrestleMania.
I don't think it's money they're after. I think it's get the storyline out there so it's bigger than what's going on behind the scenes. The only way you can get away from what Vince did or allegedly did, and I use quotation fingers very fucking loosely, that scumbag did it. Look at the fucking mustache. Anyway, the only way you get away from that is you have to insert something that people, at least in the arena, would want to see. And what's that?
I saw somebody put this like fan fiction type thing out there. What if you have a Rock Roman finger poke of doom type thing where Rock is now the head of the table, so to speak, as like the leader of the family, and then Cody cashes in his Royal Rumble win to take out either Rock or Reigns at that point?
Like a Money in a Bank type thing?
Something like that. Like if they do that on like night one, he still doesn't actually have to commit to Seth Rollins, on night two or something like that.
Possibly. But I think in order to make this work, Roman's got to wrestle. He's got to fight The Rock. He's got to fight Uncle Dwayne, basically at WrestleMania. That's the only way you make this work.
I just absolutely hate the fact that Vince leaves and then you bring a part timer in there, who basically took the guy who's basically been holding the company on his back, even with Roman's record setting reign, and you bring a guy in from Hollywood who works maybe 2 shows every 3 years at this point and thrusts himself right into the main event. You'll make buku bank, in Philly, but what happens when he leaves like a month or 2 after?
Well, the thing is, you don't need to worry about a month or 2 after because you can supplement other places. Like I told you, Triple H knows what he's doing. And as much as we don't like her old man, Stephanie knows what she's doing. I'm sure Shane's got a hand in this somehow.
Shane's got no part of that company anymore, I think. I think after Vince left, he washed his hands of everything.
Okay, so
And I know when Vince came back, I think Stephanie left. So I mean, possibly Stephanie could come back.
it's her husband running the show. You know that the company that's been in her family since her grandfather started it. She's gonna have something to say. They know what they're doing. They brought Dwayne in for a reason. First of all, giving him a seat on the board, he's one of the most visible people in the world. And he knows the business as well. So now you put Dwayne Johnson on the board. First of all, it's immediate cachet like that. And then it distances yourself from him, from Vince, because for all the years The Rock was there, even when he was a heel in the corporation, he never liked Vince. And he always did shit to piss Vince off. So now you get the old heads like you and I that still follow it. and you inject The Rock into the storyline. Because let me put it this way, Roman's getting tired. Roman's getting very tired.
Extremely. I mean, it's been tired for 2 years. I mean, there's only
It,
I give them credit for the way that they've kind of written to make it relevant when he actually does show up and defend his championship, you know, and make it look like he's like that close to losing it, and then like but it's like it's screw job after screw job after screw job, and
but
it's like
that's what I'm saying.
it's not even fun anymore. But the problem with that company right now is that you take a guy like Vince, who was an on-screen character and kind of like a tyrant in the industry, and basically now you replace him with one of the guys that he helped create, who's basically now his family's been running the show for the last 5 years in that company.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but it's yes, his family's been running the show in that company for the last so many years. He's the only one that could take it from him. And that's the angle.
I
That's the angle.
I mean I do kind of agree with where that's going, but any kind of publicity that they can do, it that's the problem here is that you would think by Dwayne coming onto the TKO board, getting back on TV, the run up to WrestleMania, however long he stays around, unless if it's SummerSlam, if it's Survivor Series, if it's WrestleMania next year, if he goes away for 3 or 4 months or whatnot after WrestleMania, win, lose, or whatever, it's you know the problem is what else is going on with the fact that more people are going to start coming out now, like the Deshaun Watson thing, like Bill Cosby, like Epstein, like like Trump. It's something that's not going to go away, and you can actually. It's not even Roman possibly winning and breaking Hogan's record. It's you could take Rock, you could bring back Austin. You got Triple H, who naturally can't wrestle anymore, but it's like he's calling the shots now. So you basically time warp back to the 90s, but there's no amount of star power short of like really grabbing like an MJF who's not going anywhere to be able to wash the image of the guy who basically necessitated all of these changes, and it's gonna get worse.
No, you're absolutely right with that. And I will say this in closing, as I see we're coming up on an hour. Um, there is a way you can do this because you can go from Rock, Roman to the other Hollywood guy coming back for a run because Rock's going to leave soon to film the final Fast and Furious movie. They killed off John Cena in the last one. You bring Cena back.
Well, Cena's also said he's only got maybe another year or two left in him at the most.
Yeah. And here's where you cash it in. Right here at the end of whatever storyline you're going to build with the head of the table thing. Because we still got to get Uso against Uso.
That's actually going to happen at WrestleMania. And the only thing I could actually see maybe Cena coming back for one more run. And I mean, if you're talking about breaking records to wash history away, you get Dwayne in there to be able to wash the recent taste of what Vince did out of everybody's mouth, even though he's interjected himself day one on the job. If Roman wins, he breaks Hogan's record with Hogan's really, really terrible track record outside of the company. And if Cena were to come back and win, you'll wash the legacy of Flair out, which has definitely not been stellar the last couple of years, especially after the plane ride from hell episode, shed more light on that.
Yeah, no, it's you can wash away the recent history of the WWE with tapping into its past. And you don't have to go all the way back. You can go relatively into the past. I'm not saying bring Jericho back from AEW. I don't think he'd ever do that. But this started with CM Punk, Jim. Who hated Vince more than Punk?
Who tore his tricep and is now out for at least 3 to 4 months.
Dude, that sucked. He was so
Fuck
beat
that
up.
guy. Injuries
Agreed.
suck, but this
Injury
is
sucks. You're
This
absolutely right.
this is karma.
But going back to my point, this whole Vince washing thing started with CM Punk because Vince hated Punk and Punk hated Vince.
And that's
Not,
actually that was originally what the goal was for them running Roman as champion as long as it was to wash Punk's record out.
yeah, and the thing is, now it necessitates they need to run Vince out. So you bring back somebody Vince hated. You bring back somebody who has led a chant with Vince, "You're an asshole," on several occasions. And now, by the way, I don't know if you heard this, but they get their most popular broadcaster back
Yeah,
permanently.
who apparently Michael Cole was the only one who knew. Corey Graves and nobody else knew.
Oh no, he's back permanently because apparently he's off a game day.
Which goes to show you anything that Aaron Rodgers touches dies.
Which goes to show you ESPN
That
knows it's boned
the
by what the
Jets
Big Ten just
that
did.
season, his own ACL, the Pat McAfee show. Yeah.
No, the Pat McAfee show is pretty good.
Yeah, but basically the Pat McAfee shows how he got the game day job, and now he doesn't have that anymore.
He don't need it because he's carrying ESPN with the Pat McAfee show.
Well, they're also paying him $80 million. You know, granted, he's entertaining, but Aaron Rodgers cost them millions upon millions of dollars because there's a lot of guys who will not come on that show
Oh yeah,
as long as Aaron Rodgers has a weekly segment now.
I don't think he has one anymore, does he?
Not anymore after they pulled him.
Yeah, yeah. No, I didn't think he did either. So Jim, what do you say we head to halftime and we take a minute, we refill the drinks, we get a little snack going, and we come back and we start with the sad stuff and we end on the high note that is the Wisey translator. How about that?
Let's do it.
See you in a few. And welcome back, everyone. You're muted.
There we go.
There you go.
Tried something different as opposed to like cutting the audio feed, just hitting the mute on the microphone probably works a little bit better. And I ain't got to click anything. Now I just got to remember to hit it when I come back on camera.
Dude, I do it every chance. Like I got the weather's going crazy down here. It was, I mean, I put it on Facebook. We went to the beach today. Beautiful day out, but the winds were like 50 miles an hour.
Jeez.
But it's going to be 52 on
Shut
the
up.
high. Let me finish. Be 52 on Wednesday. It'll be back up to 80 on Thursday.
Shut up! Shut up!
I'm not saying it to rub it in. I'm saying it's like fucking flu weather down here.
No, you're saying it to rub it in.
Only to you. So, as we alluded to, we're going to start the second half, what we call the blast, on a sad note. And there's really only one way I can bring this in, and it is the way he came into all of our consciousness. We have actually lost Apollo Creed. With the news coming out yesterday, Carl Weathers passing away at the age of 76. Dude, that hit hard. And it's not just, yeah, it was Chubbs, and I'm a Mandalorian guy, so, and John is as well. So his character from there, but this is the Master of Disaster. This is Apollo Creed. I got to tell you, the Matthew Perry hit me because it's Friends, and it's, I don't know, man. God help us when Stallone goes, although he's so pickled, I don't know if he's ever going to go. This was rough. This was rough to hear that Carl Weathers passed away. Of course, he first came into the world as far as being known as a linebacker for the Oakland Raiders. Did Madden coach him, or was Al Davis the coach when he was there?
Might have been Al Davis.
Because, he goes from that, he parlays that into his acting career. As the story goes, when he read for Apollo Creed and did some of the choreography for the fight, he had no idea Stallone was the writer and Rocky. And of course, it parlays into 4 movies as Apollo Creed. And now the legacy being carried on with the Creed franchise, the spin-off movies of the Rocky franchise, 3 very, very good films. The most recent one where Michael B. Jordan took the Sylvester Stallone moniker and ran it with it, as he was the director and star of Creed 3. But Jim, I know you're probably more of a Chubbs guy than a Apollo Creed guy.
And let's also remember, I can't remember his name in the movie, but a lot of people forget of him in Predator.
Dylan. That's the Dylan, you son of a bitch. The Arnold Schwarzenegger line, and Jesse Ventura with the most iconic line in that movie. I don't have time to bleed.
And also one of the most iconic deaths in an action movie ever.
Yeah. That's that Black Rifle coffee. I told Steph I wanted some dark roast the other day, and I didn't feel like dealing with the replaceable one. She goes, okay, I got you this. And I look at it and I go, ooh.
I've got your address. I should probably send you some Death Wish.
No, don't do that. I am legitimately trying to cut down on caffeine. Nights like tonight, not so much. But it's Death Wish. You can send me Tim Hortons. You can send me some Tim Hortons. You can order it on Amazon. Stop being a baby.
I can actually buy it from any local store, but this is me in honor of Chubbs. This is me in my happy place right now.
Only just begun. By the way, my favorite part of that movie is when they're arguing over who is going to play for Chubbs. But Grizzly Adams did have a beard. Or his cameo in Little Nicky.
Real sturdy, made of wood.
Did you mute yourself?
No.
I got nothing.
Real sturdy, made of wood. I didn't mute myself.
Now I can hear you again, but it's on the speaker. I got to turn the Bluetooth back on and get the earbuds going again.
Oh, you broke it.
Shh. Come on. Well, I hope I didn't break it. Say something.
He breaks everything. What can I say?
Part of me wants to break the Chromebook so I can get a new one. No, you're back in the ears now. So yeah, Carl Weathers at 76. It's a rough one. It really is.
There's a clip as I'm scrolling through Twitter, taken from Bally Sports Ohio, where JB last night is talking with one of the officials, and or tonight actually, he's talking with one of the officials, and the camera picks this up, and as the official's walking away, JB goes, "That's bullshit." Just so you know.
I love him. I wish he knew how to play rotations in the playoffs, but I love him.
Or as you know, I got to start listening to more Alan Cox now, because of all the funny names that they would give to him. But my favorite was still KT Butterbrickle.
Yeah. Didn't we decide if he does something stupid, we're going to call him that?
Yeah.
Which could happen in a couple of months. Hey, one last thing about Carl Weathers. The Apollo Creed was based off Muhammad Ali.
Yep.
My favorite thing about the Rocky movies, if you notice, in Rocky 1, there's a cameo by Joe Frazier. And he says, "You're ducking me." There's a cameo in Rocky Balboa of Mike Tyson doing the same thing to the fictional heavyweight champion of the world. I thought that was pretty cool.
And kind of going back to wrestling for a moment, the wrestler is Xavier Woods.
Yes.
From the New Day. Well, his original ring name in TNA was Consequences Creed, and he modeled his character after Apollo Creed with the stars and stripes boxing shorts and everything.
That's awesome. Or him telling Rocky to wash the shorts before he gives them back. Yep. That was funny. By the way, big up to the Creed franchise for pulling Felicia Rashad to play his wife.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of those?
No, not lately.
The first one was phenomenal. The second one, the storyline is just outstanding. I have not seen the third one yet with Jonathan Majors, but it looks pretty good. Plus, if you're a fan of those movies, you're a fan of those movies. It's just how it works. But let's get happy and let's talk about the NFL coaching carousel.
We've got only one, maybe two openings still that have not been filled yet.
No, I think they're all gone.
The Seattle?
Yeah, they took the OC from Baltimore, McDonald.
Okay, that actually was earlier today.
And Dan Campbell was hired in Washington.
We've got Brian Callahan in Tennessee. The only problem is he's taking his dad with him, which means the Browns need a new O-line coach.
Oh, that's bad.
And then
Jim, hold on a second. That's horrific for that team. You got cap issues, you have no draft capital, and you're losing the best assistant coach not named Jim Schwartz on your staff? Because if they think Ken Dorsey is going to be good for Deshaun Watson, they're fucking stupid.
Yeah, there's part of me that wants to give Dorsey the benefit of the doubt because, number one, he played here during, the Derek Anderson, Brady Quinn, injury-riddled, 08 and 09 years. And what he was able to do with Josh, up until Josh started going gunslinger. There's part of me that hopes that he can settle Watson down. And coming from Buffalo, I'm going to give the guy the benefit of the doubt here a little bit as a Bills Mafia fan. As I, switch up the background during the break here.
Oh, you did? Look at that.
Yeah. When Islanders and Sabres here. Um, but yeah, there's part of me that actually thinks that his greatest claim to fame is going to be throwing that Surface tablet across the desk when they blew that one game.
Let's hope he doesn't have Deshaun Watson falling under pressure the way he did in college. I mean, it's just we'll get into the hires of the Browns. We'll probably end up doing a show about the Browns at some point in time in the
Mhm.
upcoming months. But the coaching carousel, I mean, we dude, what are you 10 for 10?
I think well, the streak is officially over because I thought Bieniemy was going to take the Washington job. As it turns out, it's Dan Quinn, which makes absolutely no sense, as you said.
No. No, it doesn't. It makes sense if you're the Cowboys because you promote the DC from within and you scrap the whole thing next year when you hire Bill Belichick.
Yeah, which you and I talked about. It looks like Mike Vrabel and Bill Belichick are taking gap years before
Yeah,
they're not going to do anything, and then Belichick is probably going to take the Dallas job. He's probably going to be an analyst for a year. What is Mike Vrabel going to do until possibly the Ohio State job opens up next year?
let me say this: if Ohio State plays to the level that their roster is, Mike Vrabel's not going to have a job next year. And we're talking about Ryan Day. I mean, if you listen to any college analyst, this team is loaded for bear. And it's not just the transfer portal. That entire defense came back. And then you add the transfer portal guys on there. Ibuka came back. The only wide receiver they lost two wide receivers in that room. Julian Fleming went to Penn State, and Marvin is going to go if the Bears have a brain in their fucking skulls. Number one overall. You know what, Jim? I think Vrabel's going to have to wait till next year when you see like the Giants are going to. Dable's going to get fired. Dable's gone. Could Robert Saleh be out with the Jets next year?
I mean, you're looking at Cliff Kingsbury flip flopping what 3 times in the span of 24 hours. He takes the Raiders OC job, then he doesn't. Then what? He's according to reports, he's back in somewhere now.
Well, the other thing I just saw is Bill O'Brien may be leaving Ohio State right away and going to take the head coaching job at Boston College because Jeff Hafley, the former Ohio State DC and then Boston College head coach, is now the DC in Green Bay.
Yeah, and then Kingsbury is now up for the Commanders OC job, under Quinn, which means Eric Bieniemy's now going to be out there because he was the running back coach and assistant, head coach and assistant offensive coordinator there. So what happens with Eric Bieniemy? So I mean,
Honestly,
this thing's a lot. It's
honestly,
not quite over, but now we got the coordinators moving in and out, which is going to be even worse than the head coaches.
you want to know about Bieniemy? If next Sunday night the Kansas City Chiefs raise their third Lombardi trophy, I think he's the new head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. I think
Andy
Big
Reid
Red's going to
walking
step
away
down.
because he knows the
I,
system, he knows the players, and he was the heir apparent. He went to Washington under Ron Rivera with the assumption that if Rivera was a lame duck, that he was going to get promoted. Rivera gets let go. He gets promoted interim. The players hate him because of his tough as nails type mentality. Kansas City's used to that and won a Super Bowl already with him.
they won two. And I don't think Nagy would have a problem being the OC with Bieniemy there. Phil, for a second, would you?
The the other story was Gary Kubiak leaving the 49ers after next Sunday, and he's now going to take over the as the OC in New Orleans. So that's going to be very interesting. Another former head coach, taking over an up and coming type offense who missed out on the playoffs on a tiebreaker, nonetheless. And New Orleans got a lot of talent there.
Yeah, led by Chris Olave, who, in all seriousness, should be a fucking Brown, but we won't go there.
Yeah, but let's
The
also let's also call a spade. Is that Garrett Wilson or Jordan Leslie should also be a Cleveland Brown.
No, Olave and Wilson were the same draft. You were getting one or the other. If Wilson went 11,
not Jordan Leslie, Drake London. You could have had any one of those at at that position before you sold the farm.
Exactly. To pair with Amari Cooper, who was a Brown before he sold the farm. Yeah. Not for now. The coaching thing is interesting to me. Who did Harbaugh? First of all, did you see what Harbaugh said about J.J. McCarthy? He may have been starstruck when he met Herbert. Oh, he's lining something up. Let me tell you that right now.
Yeah, but it's, I could see him maybe drafting McCarthy if McCarthy slides a little bit, maybe as a backup, because nobody's going to supplant Justin Herbert there.
No, I agree with you.
Now Herbert's probably got the most. Say what you want about him personally and what his tactics were when he was at Michigan. He's got the first legitimate head coach of his career, much like we said with Stefanski with Baker.
No, I agree with you. And let me say this right now and on the air for everyone to hear. Jim Harbaugh is a good football coach. Was a lot of my hate because of the colors he was wearing at the time? Absolutely. Is some of my problem the rewriting of the narrative by the media? Yes, absolutely. 9 years, he lost 25 games. He lost 2 in his last 3, which means in his first 6, he lost 23 games, or almost 4 a season. Bet you if he's not a Michigan alum, he don't get 6 seasons. So let's pump the brakes on him being this fantastic college coach until everything gets stripped in a few years. But yes, Justin Herbert has his first offensive-minded head coach who is going to build a roster around him like he did in San Francisco. This dude went to a Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick. Let's put that out there.
Yeah.
But the Chargers have problems. The Chargers don't have enough weapons. They don't. This is not the Antonio Gates, LaDainian Tomlinson, Phillip Rivers Chargers who had
Darren Sproles. Yeah.
They don't have the weapons that they once did. What they do have is a very good defense with the Derwin Jameses, the Joey Bosa's, those boys. So really it's going to come down to what can Harbaugh put together as far as an offense that is going to keep Herbert upright, healthy, and not make him have to do everything. Because the one thing about Jim Harbaugh's quarterbacks is they were never the focal point of the offense. Never. Cap wasn't the focal point of the offense. The only reason he ended up being that way is because the guy ran for 8 billion yards in the playoffs that year. J.J. McCarthy was not the focal point of that offense. Blake Corum was. So this is where Harbaugh is going to come in and take some of the pressure off of Herbert. Because now, with as polarizing as he is, Jim Harbaugh is the face of the Los Angeles Chargers, not Justin Herbert.
And this is it. You're absolutely right. If you want to also make the comparison, let's look at the Browns for next year. Is I actually think it could be a bounce back year after he comes back with the injury with Deshaun Watson, because now you're going to have a fully healthy Deshaun Watson and also a Nicholas Jamal Chubb. Let's see what this offense looks like with a full year.
Well, let me ask you a serious question now. They're asking poll questions on Cleveland radio. Which wide receiver would you rather have? Mike Evans or the kid from Cincinnati? Is it T. Martin? No,
yeah.
T. Martin was a quarterback. T. Higgins. T. Martin was a quarterback in Tennessee that won the national title. Sorry. How the fuck are they going to pay him?
You're not going to be able to pay Mike Evans. You might be able to structure some stuff to get T. Higgins.
First of all, Mike Evans already said he wants to stay in Tampa with his favorite quarterback of all time. And he's got a quarterback who will take less money to keep him.
You take T. Higgins because even though Mike Evans is the best player at his position in a generation, it seems, number one, T. Higgins is a very, very good possession receiver and can also stretch the field. He could be that deep threat that Amari has that they've tried to make Amari, but he's not really. And number two, you take a very, very valuable weapon away from a team who's trying to chase you down once their
Exactly.
quarterback comes back healthy next year.
Exactly. Now, the other part of that is, again, how the fuck are they going to pay him?
We saw what Andrew Berry did with all the one-year contracts and the moving around of money. I think they're going to be fine. It's going to be interesting, though, once, because let's keep in mind, a week from tomorrow ends the season, but you can't make any moves until the following week. So March 12th opens up the whole new season. You can start cutting guys and moving things, but you can't officially announce trades or whatever. So there's a lot of talk. Tony Grossi even said it on Tony Rizzo's show. I didn't actually listen, but I saw the YouTube clip. He thinks that the Browns could make a very, very big move that a lot of people aren't talking about this year. They don't have a whole lot of draft capital, but they could definitely restructure some moves. I also don't know. I think one of the biggest moves they could do is possibly move on from Jack Conklin with his injury history, because you're going to save upwards of 12, 13 million right there per season with what you're paying him.
But you're also going to hurt the unit that cost you the playoff game. That's also losing its coach.
Batonio's yeah. I mean, you're going to losing Callahan. Yes, I completely agree. But you look at the talent that they've got in there. DeJuan Jones, with how well he played up until his injury. Ethan Posick is quickly turned into one of the top 5 at his own at his position. You've got a lot of good, and Batonio's a Hall of Famer. Although the problem is now you're starting to run into Joe Thomas territory. Is how many more years does he have left? Because he's in double-digit years himself.
This is what I'm talking about.
Right. But the thing is they've done a very good job of developing their offensive linemen in the last few years. So I think the O-line is going to be fine. You just got to get the right coach in there. I think Dorsey fills a very good void of, especially with the idea of Dorsey coming in and possibly taking some of, if not, I'm not saying all the play calling, but if he takes maybe some of the play calling away from Stefanski and let Stefanski kind of game manage a little bit more, I like that move if you're the Browns. But let's see what happens out of the blocks next year when you got a fully healthy roster with all of these moves.
Sorry for the move. Just the back is really, like I said, Bobby was ill and I went to help him and felt a pop. So, getting old. Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I have my doubts, especially with the help they need in that unit, because that unit's going to be everything. Because as good as Nick Chubb is, Nick Chubb's run behind one of the best offensive lines in the league for his entire career. What would Nick Chubb be without that offensive line? Probably still Nick Chubb. I'm not saying that. But the question has to be begged. It's the age-old question. What would Barry Sanders have done if he had Emmitt Smith's offensive line?
Yeah.
So what happens to Nick Chubb now that Callahan's gone? And honestly, the only move they can make that wouldn't have a disparate impact on that entire team is moving on from Jack Conklin. Because the only other players you have that you can cut that will be a big enough cap relief, Miles, Denzel. You're not moving on from Myles Garrett. That's just straight stir crazy fucking stupid. You're not moving on from Denzel Ward because he balled out under Jim Schwartz.
You're not moving on from Amari, who's going to be making 20 with his extension.
And you cannot move on from the quarterback. So you're going to have to sacrifice the unit that cost you a chance at moving on in the playoffs because he was under pressure 40% of the time. That's losing the best O-line coach in the game. Bob Wiley ain't getting off the couch. Who are you getting? It's like when we talked about Ohio State. Who's your hire?
Right.
And is your hire going to have enough impact on the players there when you don't have the draft capital to go out and get you a top-tier offensive lineman like you did with Jedrick Wills, nor do you have the cap space to go out and get one in free agency?
But this is also a very good young. I mean, especially with how they developed Dewan Jones already. Because
Yes.
remember, Dewan Jones was not a starter day one.
No,
Dewan
he was
Jones
not.
came in an injury and then excelled until he got hurt. And this is a very deep offensive lineman draft, they're saying.
Yeah, it is very deep. But what you're talking about, though, is it's a deep offensive lineman draft where the back end is going to have to be developed. And unfortunately, this team doesn't have the time, James. You have wasted most of Myles Garrett's prime. You have wasted, well, injuries have wasted a lot of Denzel Wards. Now you're going to have to figure out how to pay Newsome, JOK, Taki. You got to find someone else to be a rush end on the other side of Miles. And you're going to go in with inexperienced safeties because Grant Delpit is worse than Denzel Ward.
For injury proneness, and he just got a big extension. Yes. I do like Juan Thornhill.
I like Thornhill and I like Ronnie Hickman.
I think Ronnie Hickman can be developed, with another year in that system. But the problem
question is, do you
is,
have the time?
now you've actually got to figure out what happens with Za'Darius, what happens with with Dalvin Tomlinson. You got a lot of those. Thankfully, I think the biggest thing that they're going to have next year on that front seven is Obo Okoronkwo coming back 100% with how he played down the stretch.
Agreed, but here's the problem. And then I want to move on to the next thing because you want to talk about shit doesn't make any fucking sense. You hit it right on the head. Jim, a lot of these one-year deal guys proved it. And now they were on the statistically best defense in the league. They're going to get the money they want elsewhere. How many diamonds does Andrew Berry have to find in that rough?
Could they also potentially, now knowing what's on the table and what's coming back, and we're going to talk about this as we get closer to draft night, to be able to see what happens. There's part of me that thinks that maybe one or two of these guys comes back to take another run at this thing because they know with a fully healthy roster, a fully healthy, Nicholas Jamal Chubb, because you put some respect on his name and you use his full name. That
I like it.
You finished one game behind a team that went all the way to the AFC title game and could and should potentially be playing a week from tomorrow. So that you can actually run this team down.
And you beat them.
And that you're better than that team, 90 minutes away that smells, that backed their way into the playoffs with tiny hands. And you're also better than the team 3.5 hours south.
There's a lot of talk Justin Fields is going to end up in Pittsburgh. If Justin Fields ends up in Pittsburgh, that might shift some power. For one reason.
I think it would worse out. I think it would be worse off than rest his soul and everything would be Dwayne Haskins. I think it would be a worse idea.
We'll go into that, but I saw that and I figured we were talking about it. Might as well inject some good information to the black and urine fans who actually pay attention to shit. So let's move on from the NFL because I'm getting tired of it and we got a whole show about it next week. What the fuck happened in Baltimore?
How can you make a sale and the original owner still actually has, number one, controlling interest, but two, you can't make any decisions without consulting him until he dies?
I'd fucking kill him. Here's the worst part of that. You know who's part of the ownership group?
I read this. Cal Ripken.
Cal Ripken. So you have arguably, if not the best, the most recognizable person in the history of a franchise that had names like Babe Ruth in it. If I'm Cal Ripken, I yank my money. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. First of all, who the fuck does John Angelos think he is that say, oh, my dad owns a team? You just made $1.7 billion, brother. Go away.
Yeah.
Go away before you damage this freaking monster that your front office built because they're going to be nasty, especially what they just did.
with the signing of Corbin Burns,
The trade. Oh
absolutely.
my God.
It's and you were a playoff team last year. Um, you've
You won
also got
100 games 2 years ahead of schedule.
you've also yeah, and you've also got probably the best young talent in all of baseball right now in Adley Rushman.
Oh, and oh, by the way, the number one prospect in the entire game is probably going to be your opening day shortstop, moving the guy who won Rookie of the Year at shortstop in Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah. The Baltimore Orioles are going to be scary, scary dangerous for probably the next 2 to 3 years easily.
I would say 3 to 5, only because I think when the new regime takes over, when the Crypt Keeper finally kicks it, they're going to be able to re-sign some of these kids.
Well, I think with the fickleness of baseball and the fact that there's no salary cap, I'm never going to give a team a window that large again. I'm going to say 2 to 3 years is going to be kind of stretching it because we said that the Guardians window was going to be 2 to 3 years, and that closed in a hurry real fast, and then they changed everything over. And we're actually banking on potential right now of them getting back with a lot of their talent, but there's a lot of turnover involved there. But the
Yeah.
Orioles are extremely dangerous. You've got a lot of turnover in it, especially uncertainty with the stadium issue that's going to weigh in the back of the minds of the Rays. The Yankees are retooling. The Red Sox are not going to stay down very long. And I'm not going to say Toronto's going to be the odd team out, but we said that the last couple of years, and Toronto actually turned out to be the spoiler for a lot of it.
Yeah, no, Baltimore is really the team. If you're the American League East and you're sitting back and you're watching everything going on going into spring training 2024, you're looking at Baltimore and you're going, son of a bitch, we don't have a punching bag anymore. Because this team will punch you in the mouth. And if Jackson Holiday wins the job out of spring training, that lineup gets that much deeper, that much more athletic, that much faster, and that much nastier.
And just think of like where we were maybe the year or two before we started this show, where they were losing 110 games and Chris Davis was the biggest waste of a contract in baseball history.
Yeah. I look, one of these to the Orioles front office with what they built. They have the right sprinkle of veterans there, but this is a young team, and their manager's a dog. They have, I'm going to say it now, he's the best catcher in the American League. He's filthy.
And he's easily top 3 in all of baseball.
I don't know if there's anybody to put in front of him. Maybe Real Muto?
I'd put him ahead of Real Muto. I wouldn't even think twice about it.
No, I wouldn't put ahead of Real Muto because Real Muto is even a better defensive catcher than Adley Rushman is. Quicker pop time, and he coaxes that garbage pitching to the World Series in 2022 and within an eyelash of it in 2023.
Yeah, but Adley Rushman is what? 20 years old?
22, I think.
22.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the only reason I put Real Muto in there is the experience. It's like everybody still had Yachty in their top 3 when he wasn't playing but 90 games a year because it's Yachty. Real Muto's at that point in his career where he
Right,
earns
because
that for me,
Yachty, because you don't pay Yachty to hit. You basically pay Yachty to enact the 10 commandments of catchers. Thou
Yes.
shalt not throw on Yachty. Number 2, thou shalt not throw on Yachty.
Yeah, and number 3, thou shalt try and steal a base and look stupid.
And number 4 through 10, thou shalt not run
on Yachty.
on Yachty.
Yeah, no, I got you. Still my favorite
It's
WBC play.
It's along the lines of the Dudley Boys commandments.
Yeah. Still my favorite WBC play when he threw that dude out from the Dominican and Baez caught the throw and was pointing at him. That's still my favorite. That and the Adam Jones catch are my 2 favorite WBC plays. I don't know how this business person who has this kind of money and this kind of sway to get Cal Ripken to be a part of the ownership group could make this deal.
But you got to think about it. when this thing moves around, they don't need to worry about stadiums. They don't need to worry about revenue. They've got easily one of the two or three most promising and best young teams in all of baseball. And I apologize if it looks like I'm giving the finger. It's the you've got, again, we talked about how for them being able to go out and swing Corbin Burns, and also you got Rushman already sitting there in
And
the
not give up any of their top 5 prospects.
within 48 hours either way of this announcement getting made. I hate to say it, it's along the lines of, real toxic ownership and things moving around. It's got all the makings of, like, Donald Sterling leaving the Clippers with that toxicity. Georgia Frontier when she passed off the Rams to, you know, Dick Bag himself, who moved him out of town and everything. Um, you know, cranky. Um, but it's terrible with what's up at the top. But you got to admit, the the roster and the ownership group, or I'm sorry, the personnel group below that is in a very, very good spot. It's good. It doesn't have me thinking, it could possibly bottom out like what's going on with the Mavericks right now, because after Cuban leaves, you've still got the toxicity of Kyrie hanging over everybody's head. And are they going to know what to do, because that person's not going to be as personable, and hands-on with players like Cuban is, to be able to get Luca and Kyrie to coexist?
Yeah, now 30 I agree with you. 30-second hypothetical. If you're the new ownership group and you see what this front office has done, do you change it?
I think you got to actually see how it kind of plays out, at least for half the season, and see what they do.
Well, that's only if Angelos is dead by midseason.
Right. Extremely true, with that. It's, but we all know that sometimes wishful thinking, nothing's going to happen. It's like just sitting there and waiting on paint to dry, grass to grow, and watch pot. Watch pot never boils. It's
Yeah.
we've been seeing it with the with the guy with the Krylon spray tan, to have a stroke here for the last 3 years.
Krylon spray tan.
Gold dick bag number 5.
Shout out Lou Bega. Thank you. So yeah, the Orioles sale makes no sense. I don't know how you make that deal. I don't know how you survive that deal if you're the new owner. So I don't get it. I just do not get it. And it bothers me that I can't get it, because I'm trying to wrap my head around it. My team just got sold a few years ago, and it was the Wilpons own 5% of the Mets. Steve Cohen owns the other 95%, and he wasn't about to give them any control at all.
Do you see the other story involved, real quick, before we get into that last thing? Do you see the story that Quasi had your boy Cohen in the news in the last day or two?
No, I didn't.
How he's part of RSG ownership, and they actually now they've entered into an agreement with the PGA Tour.
Oh, that's
It's
who the
going
big
to
investor is. Okay.
it's going to bleed upwards of $3 billion into the PGA Tour, because there's still talks that they're still in the talking point of the Live and PGA merger has not officially been signed.
Yeah, no, I did see that the PGA Tour got a big investor. I didn't realize Steve Cohen was any part of it. Makes sense though. The guy's got more money than God.
He's
Um,
he's part of the group that kind of bought into it a little bit.
yeah, and he's not going to do anything. Doesn't have a decent ROI. He didn't make his money the way he did by not doing that. So no, I didn't know he was part of it. Good for him. Listen, I don't care how much golf you like, Stevie. Sign the fucking polar bear. God damn.
Different topic, different show.
Uh, teaser. That's going to be the main point of the first Big Rican episode back.
We'll talk about that when we wrap up, but
Yes, we will.
we go from one piece of history to something we might never see again.
Yo, she is phenomenal. Caitlin Clark, the all-world. Is she a guard?
She is.
She's got to be a two guard, right? The all-world two guard from the University of Iowa is on the verge of breaking the NCAA scoring record in women's basketball. I mean, we've had the women's game take a huge step forward with what LSU did last year in winning that championship. What Caitlin Clark is doing,
nonetheless.
Yep. What Caitlin Clark is doing now with just scoring at will, although they lost to the Buckeyes. And Tara Vanderveer, of course, breaks Mike Krzyzewski's all-time wins record in the last few weeks. The women's NCAA game is really, really carrying college basketball right now. Dude, she's amazing.
She is currently at 3,424 points. She passed Ohio State's Kelsey Mitchell earlier this week for second all-time, and she is very quickly closing in on all-time record holder from the University of Washington, Kelsey Plum, at 35-27. Math majors, that's only 103 points. That's
like 2 games.
That I mean,
3.
If we're talking about like what the girl at USC did last night with 52,
wow.
It's I mean, but you figure Caitlin Clark, that's 4 games. Possibly by the time we're back with you next week, she could have this record.
And that would be huge. Absolutely. Anytime you break an all-time scoring record, that's a massive thing. So big up to Caitlin Clark on that.
She's undoubtedly going to be the number 1 pick in the April WNBA draft. She's going to end up. Here's the ironic thing with the way that she shoots and can shoot from anywhere on the floor. The Indiana Fever have the number 1 pick.
Really?
Could we? I mean, we've got the female equivalent of the guy who basically put that state on the map.
Oh, Larry Bird. The only difference is Larry Bird didn't go to Indiana until he was an executive.
At least at the pro level.
At least the pro level. Well, I mean, from French Lick and Indiana State. No, I get you.
She's going to be playing in that same building.
I know. This would be as close to LeBron as the WNBA could have. And I don't mean talent. I'm not saying expectations. That's not what I'm talking about. I believe she's from Iowa. She went to Iowa, and she goes to she goes to Indiana to the Fever, which is right there. Yeah, no, that could be. Wow. Does she talk smack like Larry Bird?
I don't think anybody could, in their wildest dreams, would ever talk as much smack as Larry Bird.
Yeah, but he backed it all up.
He did.
Hey, speaking of talking smack, did you see what's going on at the NBA All-Star Weekend?
I read something about it, but again, as we actually talked earlier, I don't pay attention to any of this All-Star shit.
The first ever NBA versus WNBA 3-point shootout. Sabrina Ionescu will take on Steph Curry. Did you see what she said?
Yes.
I'm a smoke Stephanie. I have a new favorite female basketball player.
I don't know.
Wait, female player who talks as much smack as Larry Bird, Diana Taurasi.
Don't rule out Paige Buchers at UConn talks a hell of a lot of smack.
Well, look where Paige Buchers goes to school.
God, I hope she actually just stays healthy. I would love to see her be a top 10 pick next year.
I think healthy or not, she'll be a top 10 pick.
Because with her injury, she's got an extra year of eligibility.
Yeah. But again, look where Sabrina goes to school. Look where who I mentioned went to school. Not too far of a fetch thing that, cut from the same cloth. But yeah, I hope Sabrina Ionescu waxes his ass.
I hope she does to him what Kevin Hart did to Draymond a couple of years ago.
Oh my God. Hey, there's another Wisey winner right there. So, Jim, it's been 2 weeks, but I believe it to be time for band practice.
As my mouth shuts off.
Of course.
Would you shut up and just push the button already?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's the Wisey Translator on the Wise Guys Sports Show.
I'm forever unclean.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the dulcet tones of Joe Biden, Michael Scott, and what's the last guy's name?
Rodney Ruxin.
Rodney Ruxin mean only one thing, and that is the Wisey Translator. Yes, this is the time when James and I get to our favorite ending of every show that we do. We give each other names inside or outside of the sports world, and we throw out the first thing that pops into our head. And now, if we could have the reveal of this week's caption. The Zaxby's logo will be on our Hall of Fame plaques. We're going to have a cock on our Hall of Fame plaques?
Well, it was announced earlier today that Beltre's going in with a Rangers logo on his, and Jim Leland's not putting one on his at all. I figured you and I, it's got to be the Zaxby's logo.
Well, yeah. I agree with you. I'm surprised about Beltre, although he was there most of his career.
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah. I think the last guy I thought could have gone one of either way was Piazza. He could have gone Dodgers, but, we loved him more. So, as per usual, I will start the translator. And, Jim, I'm going to give it to you anyway. Your first name in the Wisey Translator, James, is Caleb Williams.
I still went to his birthday party. There were balloons. There was cake. There was a bounce house. There was a ball pit.
The question is, was there a pancake eating motherfucker?
That was me.
Yes. You were not the only person who said that Bo Callahan was the perfect description of him.
Would this other person be somebody who has appeared on these airwaves before?
No, it was somebody on Facebook.
Okay.
Because that's where I got the idea from. I literally made that comment and then left you that voicemail. But I'm sure we could get somebody on this airwaves that would make the comparison. He might be here next week.
I knew about the $100 bill, though. That's the other thing that I forgot. And I didn't lie about it either.
Yes.
I took the money.
Yeah, you did.
Especially with what I've been telling you off air, and that took another twist today, and I'll tell you about that when we finish up tonight.
Please do. Please do. So, Jim, what do you got for me there, bud?
Mike, your first name tonight in the Wisey Translator, we alluded to him very, very briefly as the Cavs have completed a 16-point win tonight.
Good.
No, ESPN, do not load because I'm trying to get the soundboard up. Mike, your first name in the Wisey Translator tonight, Zach LaVine.
Seriously, the most undeserving dunk contest winner in the history of the fucking event.
Thank you.
No disrespect. Aaron Gordon jumped over the fucking mascot on a moving hoverboard and put it underneath his legs and behind his back. I don't give a shit what fucking dunk Zach LaVine did at that point in time.
Full disrespect because Aaron Gordon blew everything out of the water.
Okay, more full disrespect. The only reason he won that is because he had the balls to put on a Michael Jordan Space Jam jersey.
Yeah, and then I think even the more impressive one with Aaron Gordon for a guy his size to be able to go up and cup it one-handed.
That's true. But then again, isn't Aaron Gordon on the Nuggets?
Yep. Aaron Gordon's
He's
got
got
a
a ring.
championship.
He's got a ring. Zach LaVine, no, not so much. But injury's tough though. He has been battling the injury bug for the last few years. I mean, what that Bulls team could be if Lonzo was healthy, and he was healthy. So, what are you going to do, James? Your second and final name in the Wisey translator is Dwayne Johnson.
Part-timing, money grubbing, spot stealing piece of shit.
I love how you did the same
what-
cadence as the Ric Flair thing with that.
I don't care what you've done, what you're planning on doing with minor league summer football. Great idea, giving guys other jobs. The fact that it looks like you've got bigger implants in your biceps than half the divas have in their chests in that locker room. You're in your early 50s and you're going to steal a spot away from Dusty Rhodes' kid in a power play your first fucking week on the job.
I
Go
knew this was going to be good.
away. And
I
there
knew this was gonna be
and we wonder why that video has so many dislikes and reports per Fightful Inc. that said that they talked to more than 35 different people in different areas and departments in WWE, and it was a universally panned segment and idea of what's going on.
Oh no, no one likes it. But if their owner wasn't a fucking fiend, they wouldn't have had to do it.
And this is why when the ratings came out last week, Collision had a better overall, not so much rating, but a better ranking for the talent of the program. For an AEW Saturday Night Weekly show, had a better overall rating than the Royal Rumble did because of shit like this. On multiple different sites, Rampage, AEW Collision last week was an 8.3 rating per average. The Royal Rumble was a 4.6.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of people stopped tuning in once they heard what was going on with Vince. Then you heard Lesnar was out of it.
I showed you off air what my highlight of the entire Royal Rumble was, and that was Jordan Grace showing up from TNA.
That's true. I thought it was. I'm a McAfee guy, so you know.
R-Truth showing up in the women's Royal Rumble was relatively funny, but it's like, for me, it was the whole Jordan Grace thing. But again, it still comes back to it because she gets into it with, Naomi, Trinity Fatu, who's married to Jey Uso, who again brings it back full circle as part of that damn family.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and listen, though, that family's given us a lot over the years.
It has, but the problem is that it's something that it's not like the McMahons doing a power play where they get their just desserts, after an angle, 6 months, maybe a year. This is 3 years and doesn't show any signs of slowing down because we're going to have this whole damn thing going on for at least another 6 months, if not longer.
Yeah, most likely. And the finale for me, sir?
Michael, your second name in the Wisey translator tonight, we brought him up earlier. Dan Campbell.
Kick the fucking ball. Kick the fucking ball. Last time I checked, points are what wins games. I understand MCDC, and listen, he has done a phenomenal job turning around this franchise. theoretically, he could have just set it back another 2 or 3 years.
They say defense wins championships, but running games, especially in the playoffs, win. And when you've got 148 yards at the half, I'm sorry,
Against that defense.
the last I checked, defense might help win championships, but you still need to score more points than the other team. So 3
Yeah.
is more than 0.
And keep away from that offense is smart, which will go into game plan stuff next Saturday. So speaking of next Saturday, if all goes well, and I'm pretty sure it's going to, we will have Alex with us next Saturday night as our 58th episode will preview Super Bowl 58. There won't be a 6-pack unless something insane comes out. But I think we should have surprises for him and the translator.
We should. We'll actually do kind of like what we did last year. We'll have our prop bets. Actually,
2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago because I don't think
we didn't do. I moved.
Yeah. So it's I actually will be trying to defend my prop bet championship from 2 years ago.
We will also live react. So Jim, don't watch it, and I'll make sure Alex hasn't. We'll also live react to the Paramount Plus commercial, which is hilarious. And then 2 weeks from now, we will have Mr. John Rice on, and we will bust his ass about being one of the scoring people at Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas.
Who is in the process of tearing down one of the legendary casinos to make room for the new athletics park.
MGM going down?
Tropicana.
Other than that, yes, Big Rican will ride again in the month of February, and it will be a full New York Mets I'm going to kill someone episode. Because, yeah, I'm going to kill someone if he wears a different uniform in his career. That's not I'm going to play my final season in Tampa Bay, where I'm from, type move. I'm getting more angry as I think about it.
Well, Clayton Bigsby said it best. If you have hate in your heart, let it out. I'm not going to finish that statement, though.
Tune in. Tune in. Jim, what's coming? I know you said you got to get to the sports zone because you've been doing them like once every 2 weeks. What do you think you got coming up soon? You know what? I tell you what. Your next sports note, if you want to wait a little bit, you got to do a big piece on Caitlin Clark. She breaks this record.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Is I actually was gonna put something together maybe this weekend, but I think I'm just gonna wait a couple extra days. I'll probably have a Caitlin Clark one in the can. I might want to try and like squeeze or milk something out here, real quick. Maybe not tomorrow because I got some things going on tomorrow. If you're religious at all. You might actually want to pray for me because I actually have to do computer work with my mother.
Bro.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start now.
And but I got a couple of ideas here. It's just all a matter. Am I gonna have to do it Monday? Do I maybe do it Tuesday? Could I actually be running two at the same time? Could I be literally taping one, finishing, and then, while that one's editing, recording another one on Caitlin Clark? But there will be a Caitlin Clark one coming up, which will actually be, that'll be history on the Sports Note because that'll be the first time that any college has actually gotten a second entry. I've got second entries on every other, of the big sports, the 4 professional leagues. This will be the first time any college has actually gotten to.
And this is the one that should get the 2. I mean, this is a big story. You're not going. I don't see anybody doing this in the men's division because you don't have guys stay around. Dude, we are a month away from doing our bracket show.
Yeah, it's you think
Here's
about
an even bigger one.
Now that we're into February, the smaller schools start their conference tournaments in 3 weeks.
And here's an even bigger one. It is now 11:17 p.m. on the East Coast. In 43 minutes, we will be 8 days from pitchers and catchers. Where is time going?
I'm actually like, matter of fact, I just saw something before we went. Matter of fact, while we were in halftime, I was scrolling through Facebook through see if like anything came out, and now they're giving like updates on the progression of the final bit of the renovations at Progressive Field.
Oh, good. They're going to be done by opening day, right?
They're very, very hopeful that they're going to have to be.
Do the guards open on the road or at home?
They all, there should be no reason that any team like, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Guardians, the Pirates, they all should open at least the first 10 days on the road.
Because of the weather?
Or shorten the season.
Shut up.
Start in mid-April and finish at the end of October.
First of all, they used to start in mid-April and finish the middle of October before. Do you want to know what they used to do? Sunday doubleheaders.
There's a very, very easy fix to all this, and it's called expand the rosters to 40 permanently.
No.
Because
if you do,
you got to worry about load management or excessive travel or things like that. So this way you've got more than enough guys on the roster. It's you've got the load management thing in basketball.
We got what we needed.
What's that?
We got what we needed. Lakers win in the Garden.
Good.
Cavs are to 3. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off like that, but I just saw that come across.
I want to see if they've actually got it updated. Yep, the Cavs have officially, according to ESPN, they're 5 in a row. The Knicks had their winning streak broke. The Cavs are now 1 game behind Milwaukee. They own the mathematical tiebreaker.
They should be tied with Milwaukee. If Milwaukee lost.
Well, I mean, Milwaukee won big earlier today.
Oh, I thought you said they lost.
No, they beat no, it's they were losing. I guess they came back. They were getting crushed by Dallas.
You said they were down by 17.
Yeah, they won by 12.
Jesus.
Well, I got to see this.
I'll
Bucks overcome 25-point deficit against Mavs for Rivers' first win. Giannis goes for 48. 20 of 28 from the floor, 6 of 10.
I can't hear you again.
And he broke it again.
Hopefully I get you back this time. Oh, that's cute. Only one of the earbuds connected. Oh, well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. Shut up, Dick. You're such an asshole. He's not wrong. So thank you for joining us here on the Wise Guys. Yes, we went a little long tonight, but the crap going on in Stamford, Connecticut needed extra time to discuss it. Jim, I think our new format's actually working out really well.
Yeah, it's we talk about getting it under 90. I think 2 hours is working out just well. Just fine.
Yeah.
For now.
Especially because it's a weekly show. It's not like we're doing this more. If it was more than once a week, then yeah, I can see only wanting to do 90 minutes. But once a week, we got a lot to cover, especially for whatever reason this time of year.
Yeah, and especially with the topics that we had earlier tonight.
Yeah, because the last one in the hat trick had to be gone into.
It's what's funny is that we actually gave it an extra 5 minutes and still ran over with everything else that actually spilled out of it afterwards.
Yeah, that's true. So we will see you guys next week, 9 p.m., same bat time, same bat channel for the Wisey's second Super Bowl preview show. I just sent Alex a message.
It would
He
have been
did
the
not respond.
third, but somebody had to move.
It's a fucking year already, dude. That just don't jive, man. But we'll see you guys next Saturday night. Have a good one.
Everybody have a great night.